Welcome back, and joining us for a look at what moved investors' money today is Shaun Dendere from Trive Investments. Thank you so much for your time, Shaun. Quite good news coming out of China with the export data. They're surprising to the upside with growth of 7.1% year on year. I would have expected those good news to filter through to the all share, but we have seen subdued trading, unless maybe it's filtered through to the resources, as we've seen them climbing almost 3%.
Yes, so, news coming out of China is quite interesting. It is something that we've been expecting, well, people were expecting at least sometime last year when China opened up after, it had the longest lockdown restriction policies there. So it is quite nice to see that, the export data is up, and this is also buoyed by, there's a massive demand in electronics, obviously driven by a lot of the AI boom that we're in. And then we're seeing the United States returning to growth. Although the EU is still a bit weak, hopefully when that opens up, we'll see also China's numbers increasing. And from our side, right, we got many different issues. I think looking at our GDP numbers that came through earlier this week, they weren't the greatest. So hence you're seeing, or at least in my view, the JSE a bit muted. However, resources at large have had a massive rebound since last year, starting from December or towards the end of the year. So this is just additional, momentum, this kind of news, as, we export a lot of our commodities and resources out through to China.
All right. Well, let's get into the news, the company news that came out of the JSE today, starting off with Sunam results. They released their annual results there. The insurance company posting double-digit growth in its financial metrics, even clocking records. And actually, after the results were released, I looked at that share price was down 3%, and I was wondering if markets expected more. I didn't check to see what the share price looks like right now. But what did you make of those numbers?
I think Sunam, what they've done, right, in my view, is that they've perfected diversification, right? So the insurance industry in South Africa obviously took a hit when we had, all the looting, the floods in Durban, etc. And what Sunam has done by expanding into North Africa, buying Absa's asset management business, is really, allowing Sunam to have different sources of revenue, even though the insurance business did grow, their life insurance business did grow. So I think that, they are well set to ride many a storm, especially with, a lot of economic uncertainty within the country. So these are really, really impressive numbers, considering, what we're going through in the economy.
Well, another counter that markets have been impressed with for a while is Grin Rod. They came out with their annual numbers today, posting, though, a tepid growth in revenue of 1%, but posting double-digit growth in the bottom line. What story are these numbers telling?
So it's interesting because, we're having issues, port issues in South Africa. And I think that's where you would see, that revenue growth only being 1%, but their business in Mozambique has been really doing well for them. And I think maybe this is maybe a bit of a focus for them, a business focus, as you can see by the numbers, hedging against some of the issues that they're facing with Transnet and the blockages that we're having at our local ports.
Yeah, all right. Well, another counter that is affected by those Transnet issues is Xaro. They came out with the year-end trading statement. Company not expecting good news on earnings. They forecast their headline earnings per share to decrease by as much as 30%. Talk to me about those headwinds that Xaro is facing there.
Yeah, there is quite a bit there.
Yeah.
Coal prices basically peaked in 2022,
yeah,
and that was due to Russia-Ukraine. So that gave them, quite a nice buffer. But if we're looking at 2023, there has been a massive decline in coal prices, and with the world also moving towards green energy, maybe it will be time for Xaro to actually, maybe readjust their focus. I know that they are working on some wind projects, which, can counter what's happening with, coal and the price of coal. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, is that the results would have been worse if, the rand had been stronger. So, they've been quite they've been defended a little bit by the weaker rand, purely because we are exporting most of their products. But seemingly we see that the rand is starting to gain a bit of momentum. Hopefully that continues for us. That for Xaro, that really isn't a good sign for them in the long run.
All right. Well, talking about a weaker rand, of course, you know that tourists love coming to South Africa when the rand is weak. Sun International coming out with its trading statement today saying that they expect their headline earnings per share to rise by as much as 92%. But there was a difference between the HEPS and the adjusted HEPS, where you had, they're expecting single-digit growth in the adjusted HEPS figure. Which metrics should we be focusing on here?
It depends. People have different ways of looking at numbers.
Yeah.
But I think the key point is the bottom line, the adjusted HEPS.
Yeah.
That's what we should kind of focus on. But outside of that, it goes back to the story that I mentioned with Sunam. They've also managed to diversify, with Sunbet, their betting business, resorts, etc. I think they also purchased Piedmont sometime last year. So once again, they're also kind of not focusing traditionally on their hotel business, but going into more let's call it, how would they call it, resort entertainment.
Yes.
Just a holiday makers full group company. So from that perspective, they are really going to do quite well, in my opinion.
All right. And of course, we're going to be looking at the upside that we could see from this acquisition of Piedmont. Let's get to your stock pick for today, Shaun.
So my stock pick for today is Super Microcomputer. So it's a bit of an unknown stock, but it is really doing quite well. Year to date, the share price is up by 300%. And basically what their company does is that they provide service for AI companies and AI technology. And as we can see, looking at the NASDAQ and the Magnificent Seven, AI is something that is seemingly here to stay. And we see that Super Microcomputer is going to be entering, the S&P 500 in March, I think 18th of March. So now actually Knockout will pull out of that. So it is quite a nice business to look at, as for people that are focusing on AI, such as your Nvidia's, Cadences, etc. I think Super Microcomputer is where it all starts.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your analysis and insights into what has been moving investors' money today, Shaun. That was Shaun Dendere from Trive Investments.